There are 5 things that almost everyone gets wrong about running. And let's be clear, not everyone is wrong about these. Just, 98% of us, including me. I've personally believed at least 4 of these. My name's Nicklas, I'm a sports scientist, physiotherapist, and former professional triathlete. And if you're making any of these mistakes, you're literally making running way harder than it needs to be. So in this video, I'm going to show you what these mistakes are, why they're wrong, and what to do instead so you can start to run faster for longer with less injuries. Mistake number 1 is thinking running form doesn't matter or working on the wrong things. I hear this all the time. You don't need to worry about running form. Just run naturally. And I get it. I ignored running form for so long because it was just so much easier to tell myself that the best runners were just naturally gifted. But imagine for a second that we applied the same logic to other areas of life. Just jump in the water and swim naturally. You don't have to learn. Or here's a guitar. You don't have to learn the accords. Just play naturally. Look. Running form absolutely matters. And it's not just something I've seen work extremely well with myself and with my clients, it has actually been studied extensively. A meta-analysis from 2024 actually looked at how different aspects of running biomechanics or running form affect running economy. Running economy being how efficiently you use oxygen when you run. They found that biomechanics alone explain about 4 to 12% of the differences in running economy between runners. That's basically free speed. It's not that you need to look like Eliud Kipchoge in slow motion, it's that form controls where your energy is going. If you're dismissing form as irrelevant, then you're basically saying to yourself that you want to work harder for less speed. So here's what to do instead. Assess your form. I've made multiple videos on this channel showing you exactly how to do that, but basically you just need to film yourself. Next, research shows that reducing your vertical movement or your bouncing up and down is the best way to improve your running economy. And for most recreational runners, increasing your step rate will also improve your running economy. Then work on simple mental cues, something like wiping off the gum under your shoes as you run to activate your glutes, or imagine that the floor is made of lava to increase your turnover. Don't obsess about it, but don't ignore it. Running well isn't about looking pretty for Instagram. It's about efficient biomechanics that save energy over time. Mistake number 2 is believing that VO2 max is the best predictor of performance. Look, VO2 max is cool. It's the maximum amount of oxygen your body can take in and use during intense exercise. But VO2 max is not the best predictor of how fast you're going to run. The best predictor of how fast you're going to run actually depends on whether you're running a 1500 meter or a marathon. Let me explain. A scientific review from 2022 found that for 1500 meter runners, the best predictor is what's called velocity at VO2 max. It's basically the speed you can run at when your body is working at its maximum oxygen uptake. Think of it like this. VO2 max is how big your engine is, but velocity at VO2 max is the speed you can go at when you push that engine to the max. 2 runners might have the exact same VO2 max, but if one is more efficient, he will run faster at that VO2 max. So basically, VO2 max alone does not tell you how fast you're going to run. Velocity at VO2 max combines your oxygen capacity with your running efficiency. And according to the review, that's the best predictor of who will win a 1500 meter race. For a 3000 meter event, things change. The best predictors of who will win that race is velocity at VO2 max, but also what's called blood lactate response. So what is that? Lactate is a byproduct your muscles make when they work hard. At easy paces, your body clears it easily. At harder paces, it builds up faster. So your blood lactate response is basically how much does lactate go up as you run faster. It shows how well your body handles effort. A good runner can run faster before lactate shoots up. This is also tied to something called your lactate threshold, which is the fastest pace you can go before lactate builds up too quickly and you'll soon have to stop. or slow down. So if you're going for a fast 3K, you need both a higher velocity at VO2 max, but also the ability to clear lactate easily. Finally, for long distance events, so from 5K and up, it seems that blood lactate response is the main predictor of performance. So VO2 max is important to work on because it will make our potential to run faster higher. But our running efficiency and blood lactate clearance determines how much of that potential we can utilize. Mistake number 3 is believing genetics is the biggest predictor of success. I have been a victim of this myself. You see, I'm 193 centimeters tall or 6'3", and when I first got into triathlon, people told me that I was just not built to run fast. I was told that I needed to be shorter and weigh less if I ever wanted to be truly fast. And while that may be true if I want to run a half marathon in less than an hour, but it does not mean that I can't beat 99% of people if I work hard. Look, I'm not saying genetics doesn't matter. Of course they do. In fact, a scientific review from 2009 found that whether someone becomes an athlete, as well as things like their heart and lung endurance or muscle type, are strongly influenced by genetics. This means your genes does play a big role in how successful you'll be in sports. But they also pointed out that no single gene can reliably predict if someone will become a successful athlete. And here's the thing I see most often. People blame genetics before they even tried. And it's such a shame because there's so many world-class athletes who did not achieve their full potential after years and years of training. Take someone like 2 times Tour de France winner Jonas Vingegaard. He did not get a pro contract until he was 22 years old. And most people are nowhere near their genetic limit. If you have not maxed out your training, your nutrition, your injury prevention, your gear, your recovery, your stress, then you have ways to go. On the other side, you could have perfect genetics and still be a couch potato. Meanwhile, the runner who trains consistently, sleeps well, and manages stress, he's going to smoke those genetic freaks that half-asses it. So instead of blaming genetics, which we can do nothing about anyways, we should focus on the things that we can control. Build habits that support your training to find your genetic limit. I've worked with thousands of athletes at this point, and I'm yet to see someone who truly reached their genetic limit where we had nothing left to do to try to improve their performance. There's always something, which is also the beauty of running. So please stop limiting your potential by having a limited belief that it's just bad genetics. Mistake number 4 is ignoring strength training or choosing the wrong type of strength training for your level. One of the things that I struggled with for a long time was how specific should my training be? Like, if I only had 5 days a week to train, should all of those be running, or should I remove one of them and then add a strength training session? Because I think that we can all agree by now that adding strength training is great, but is it better to just run more? In a randomized control study, they tested exactly that. They split 41 recreational runners into 3 groups. A running only that ran for 3 hours per week, a running plus 1 strength session group that ran for 2.5 hours and then did 1 30-minute strength training session per week, and a running plus 2 strength sessions group that ran for 2 hours and did 2 30-minute strength sessions per week. They found that both groups that replaced some of their running with strength training improved their maximal running performance compared to those who just ran. But surprisingly, the group that cut the most running and added the most strength training, so the 2 sessions per week, actually improved most. This actually gives some evidence to the fact that removing some running to add some strength training can be beneficial to a point. Now, of course, you won't be a great runner if you only strength train, but if you do more than 3 hours per week of running, I think that adding a bit of strength training can be very beneficial. Because you see, strength training for runners is not about bodybuilding. It serves 3 different purposes: improving force production, reducing injury risk, and boosting running economy. But here's where it gets tricky, because what type of strength training helps you improve the most actually depends on how fast you can run. Let me explain. A systematic review from 2024 found that both high-load strength training and plyometric training improve running economy. But plyometric training was more effective at lower speeds of less than 12 kilometers per hour. On the other hand, high-load strength training was more effective in improving running economy in athletes with a higher VO2 max and at high running speeds. So what does that mean? It means that if you have to prioritize between plyometrics, which is basically jumping, and high-load strength training, then what you should choose depend on how fast you can run. If you run slower than 12 kilometers per hour, then you should probably lean towards some plyometrics. But if you run faster than 12 kilometers per hour, then high-load strength training might be better. And if you want my full strength training protocol that has both plyometrics and high-load strength training built in, then check out the link in the description below. Mistake number 5 is thinking rest is only physical. This is one of the biggest mistakes I see, and I think that it's because as humans we have this all or nothing mentality. We want to do our best in all aspects of life all the time. At least I see this in myself, and I have to fight it every day. I want to be the best father, I want to be the best runner, I want to make the best YouTube videos, and I also want to be the best at my job. But I see athletes absolutely destroying themselves with this mindset. Because even though you're not sore anymore and you think that you're ready for another hard VO2 max workout, are you actually recovered? You see, rest isn't just about your muscles. It's about your whole system. In science, this is called allostatic load. It's your total stress on your body from training, stress, poor sleep, relationships, work, everything. Your body doesn't care if it's stress from a 10 by 400 meters at the track or a screaming toddler at 3 a.m. It all adds up. So what happens if we ignore this? Our sleep gets worse. Our hormones go out of whack and our injury risk skyrockets. This basically means that we get slower even though we're training harder. So what do we do instead? We need to have a way of monitoring our sleep, our mood, or just checking in with our bodies to make sure that we are recovering properly. And then we have to stop being afraid of cutting back on some things when life gets crazy. Sometimes a rest day is the best way to get better. But here's the key. Most people don't even know what a rest day is. So to make sure you rest the right way, I'll teach you exactly how to maximize your rest days in this video right here.